Are you okay that we record video?
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
I've never done it before. I
I'm
just
not cut off or anything, am I?
no, you're good, man. And that
Okay.
I've never done video. I wanted to try it and see if I can just kind of have that as an option for people because
Right.
I've had a guy who's like, man, I'll just put it on YouTube and just let it play in the background all the time. And I've done podcasting for a long time and I've never done video. So
Right.
figure I'd give it a shot, see what happens.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Cool, man. And you said you've done some podcasts before?
Yes, yes, I have.
I feel like that is why I had you in my Instagram. Like I'm sure I listened to it. I just can't remember
Okay.
what it was on.
I try to listen to a little bit of everything. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of non-informative stuff out there. So if I can find one that's informative, that's real, then I'll listen to everything.
Yeah. And I think what I'm trying like what I first of all, do you prefer Michael or Mike?
Mike's usually what I go by.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I refer to you however you want to be referred. Um yeah, so like when I started doing this, I was like, man, I just want to figure out a way to talk deer to more people all year. And
Right.
if that means that I do this particular medium, which I was already familiar with doing, then so be it. And I really wanted to get like a little bit of a different perspective on the actual individual. And so while we may talk about hunting, I want to know who Mike is, what gets Mike going. And then when you posted that the other day, I was like, I want to talk to him about this.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I just thought it was a really great, it's going to probably rub some people the wrong way and good,
Absolutely.
frankly,
Right.
good. Um,
Right.
it should be talked about. And so that,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's what triggered it for me. So, okay. Is there anything you don't want to talk about?
No, I'm pretty well an open book.
Cool.
So
Okay. Do you have a time frame that you need to be done by?
no,
Okay.
we're good.
I'll try to keep it 60 to 80 minutes, somewhere in that
Yep.
sweet spot.
That sounds perfect.
Cool, man. Cool. I had a, no, never mind. I don't want to, just some people can ramble. I don't think you're going to be a rambler. I'll try to keep
No,
us corralled in. I have a few
no,
things written
I
down.
understand.
Yeah. Cool. All
Yeah,
right.
I
Well,
understand.
I'll do a quick intro
Okay.
and then we'll get into it.
Okay, sounds good.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Angel Road Outdoors, the podcast. This is episode 27. I am your host, Brett, and I am joined tonight by another stranger. I like to keep inviting strangers on the podcast because that's what keeps this thing fun, man. Learning new people, meeting new people, and getting all these different perspectives from some great people around the country. And tonight I have on Mike Russell. How you doing, Mike?
Great. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for scrambling to join me tonight.
Absolutely.
I know it's weird. Maybe it's weird talking to a complete stranger on a Sunday night when it's actually beautiful outside finally, and you're like, man, I would rather be doing something else.
Yeah, I'm always up for talking deer and bow hunting though, so
Awesome.
I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Cool. Well, I appreciate that. Why don't you take a little bit of time or as much time as you want, honestly, and tell everybody where they could maybe follow along on your adventures, in the social media world, and then a little bit about yourself as a person, as a hunter, and kind of a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so I primarily use Instagram. My Instagram handle is Russell RUSSELL underscore bow only. I have a small web series called Appalachian Chase. Instagram handle for that is Appalachian Chase. Um, really, I'm 34 years old. I live in Southeast Ohio, and just born and raised in the outdoors. I went through many different stages from a young kid until now. I remember being younger. My dad would always take us out rabbit hunting. We always had rabbit dogs, and there was a time that I thought there was nothing better than chasing rabbits with the beagle dogs. And then I got into turkey hunting, man. And I remember I killed my first longbeard. I was like, man, there is nothing better than this. And I got into junior high and high school, and I had coon dogs and I had rabbit dogs. So um, I sort of go through, like I said, different phases on what I was into at the time. But graduated high school, and um, year after that, bow hunting was really, really starting to take off. So that'd been 2010. I guess it was becoming more popular. probably not as popular as it is now, but um, so I was out running trail cameras and trying to find deer to hunt. My dad wasn't really a bow hunter, so um, a lot of the time I spent in the outdoors, I sort of had to teach myself. And looking back, I taught myself because I made so many mistakes. I did so many things wrong. Um, but I was actually, as 2010, I believe it was. We were holding a big doe contest. I think every small town in America does it. Um, and I went out to shoot a doe one evening, and sitting there with my compound bow in a tree, and I was just getting ready to climb down. It was super hot, and a 4 point came from my right. I was like, man, I'm gonna be stuck in here now. We live in Ohio; it's a baiting state, so a lot of times these deer will come in to eat, and they'll take their time in there per se.
Yeah.
And I was getting fried in the tree, and I heard something snap, and I looked down below me, and there's a 135 inch. It was a 12 point, but it was really a 10. Standing at the base of my tree, and I at the time, I'd have thought it was 200 inches, and this deer walked out in front of me, and long story short, I ended up putting a very good shot on it, and it went 30 yards and piled up. And as soon as that happened, I mentioned I was real big into hounds and chasing rabbits, chasing coons, chasing turkeys. As soon as that happened, there was a fire that lit inside me, and I said, "There's nothing like this." It was unlike anything I ever experienced in my life, and man, that was it. Here I am, 14 years later, and there's a fire that burns inside my heart for whitetail deer now that it's stronger than it's ever been. My my life really consists of, I'm God fearing, but my kids are first, and then it's deer, and there ain't a close second after that. So um, I just like I said, funny how it happened. It just took one time, but man, like I said, here I am 14 years later, and I'm absolutely ate up with it.
So you were said you were about 20 years old when that kill happened right there, right?
Right? Yes.
And you also mentioned that you have taught yourself, pretty much everything, and the majority of it, or maybe not the majority of it, a lot of it has been due to mistakes made.
Right.
So if you grew up kind of graduating eventually into bow hunting and buck hunting,
Hmm.
some of those mistakes that stand out to you today as the most pivotal mistakes that you learned the most from that got you to that point.
I think number one would be human intrusion. There was, I'd get a farm, and like I said, I was ate up with it, and I thought I had to be there every day doing something. Whether I was
Oh yeah.
feeding or running trail cameras. A lot of this happened before cell cams, so I thought I had to check my camera every day. So um, human intrusion was a big thing. I think I was running more deer off um, than I was keeping, kind of thing. I learned a lot on access. I felt like I was finding places where deer were at, um, but I wasn't thinking it through in terms of are they watching me? Um, Go to my stand, and that actually happened this year. I killed a super mature deer this year, an old deer, and I hunted him for like a week and a half, and I think he was watching me go into
Yeah.
my stand. And as I was going in, I would look where I thought he was bedding at. Like I would look in that general area, and I said, "There's no way that deer can see me going up in here."
Mm-hmm.
And I went into hunting one evening, and I thought, I'm gonna dip to the right and get through this pasture field. And I did, and I seen him. I was like, but I didn't think that was the reason why I seen him. Then I hunted it, a couple more times. I'd go up this tractor road, and went in to hunt him another evening. And I just felt like it was going to be a great evening. It was overcast skies and some light rain. And I always tell people big deer like to die on those overcast evenings with a light rain. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna kick down that across that pasture again. And I did. I ended up killing him that evening. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, back to what we were saying, access was a big thing. The
Yeah.
only thing I thought about was getting in my stand to kill the deer, and not, are they watching me?
Mm-hmm.
And so human intrusion was definitely number one. I think people a lot make that mistake a lot today. Um, but I think access was another big one that I had to learn from per se.
Do you think you missed a lot of opportunities? Like now, with hindsight and what you know today, do you really think that you missed a lot of opportunities by doing that? Or are you saying, I know for sure because I would bump them, or just you're just sort of hypothesizing that you did?
Yeah, I know I missed a lot of opportunities, and it took me, being older, and like a couple years later, look back and say, man, that was my fault. I didn't kill that deer. So a lot of times you wouldn't realize it till after the neighbor killed it, or after you know
Mhm.
your buddy shot it, and then he filled you in on a little piece of information, and you were like, oh man, But
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say I definitely allowed a few deer to live, but what I learned from it, um, I think has also led to a couple deer dying. So um,
Yep. And it's interesting you say that because we, in my group of friends that we hunt together, we've recently started to really be mindful about our access. And
mhm.
historically speaking, we were not. And we do
Right.
get lazy. And we have sort of hypothesized that the property to the north that does not get hunted, the deer will bed there and watch us park our vehicles. They'll hear us open that sliding pole barn door in the morning, see the
Hmm.
lights go on, and be like, "Well, I guess we're not heading south today."
Right.
And
Right.
we've been most successful. I've personally been most successful at that property in the rut
Hmm.
within the sweet spot. Now, I think I could probably do myself a favor being a little more conscientious about my access. And I love that you said that. So I just want to let people marinate on that. Like you don't have to be in there constantly. That's another thing I was guilty of too, is if my camera's batteries were dead, I mean, it was a priority number one to go change that battery.
Right.
And man, just go in there like once or twice a summer and you're good. You don't need to go
Yeah.
in there every 2 weeks to look at stuff.
Yeah. I tell you, now cell cams are huge, and
Yeah.
I actually, believe it or not, I didn't start using cell cams till last year.
Interesting. So you
I
were
I wanted
strictly an SD guy.
I wanted to stay that way, kind
Yeah.
of thing. Because again, with times are changing per se with deer hunting. I mean, it's huge bow hunting and everything, and I sort of wanted to leave it that way. I was like, I'm not spending all this money on cell cams and
Hmm.
data plans and whatnot. And then man, I bought one. It was over. now
I,
I got now I have too many, but yeah,
it happens. It does happen to the best of us.
yes. So
Did you grow up a private land hunter or a public land hunter?
so when I grew up, I say this now, and I hate deer drives. But when I grew up, that was what you did. Yeah,
Hmm.
you were part of a local group, and you did deer drives. It was all about camaraderie. Spending time with people.
Hmm.
They call it deer camp.
Sure.
You taking a break and going down and eating. Um, that was what it was all about. So I didn't know bow hunting. I didn't know anything about it. I knew about going out with my family and my friends and doing deer drives. And like I said, 2010, I shot that deer with my compound bow, and it was over. And I can remember after I did it, I had no desire to shoot a deer with a gun ever again. And nothing against doing that. I
Hmm.
have a deer that's on my wall that's I killed with my old man, and I'll look back on that for years.
Sure, of
But
course.
I guess I just, like I said, times change, and I've changed a lot as a hunter. I want nothing more than to go hunt deer with my bow, and if it's gun season, I'll be in a tree with my bow. So I mean, that's how it was when I was younger. There weren't a whole lot of bow hunters. Um, there definitely weren't a lot of compound bow hunters. You had a bunch of guys with crossbows, and you uh, you did deer drives. And now where I'm from, I think there's like two groups left,
Really? So
and yeah,
they've kind of fizzled out.
they've all dwindled. And
Yeah, is it a generation thing, do you think? Like that generation of hunters is now at an age where that's just not something they do anymore?
I think it is, and I think that. bow hunting has become so big
Mm-hmm.
that, and social media is huge with deer. You know that.
Yeah.
Um, it just looks cooler when you're sitting there with a big buck in your hand. You got your bow. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, and you say you shoot a deer 150, 200 yards, and you tell somebody that they, they automatically don't look at it the same as if you shot it at 15 yards. So
Yeah.
I think it's just changed. I think bow hunting's so big for one, and there's a lot of farmers now that they don't want groups of people going across their land.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be liability wise or they might have a guy that's paying them top dollar to bow hunt it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So there's a lot of people here that they let you drive their property 10, 15 years ago, but not now.
Yeah.
So
Do you,
that's another thing.
so do you hunt private or just public?
Yeah, so I just hunt private. Sorry, I got
Oh, that's
on
okay.
a. I just hunt a private. I actually have a 181-acre farm.
Nice.
It's not mine personally. I do some work on it. I care for the farm and
Awesome.
have a lease agreement with the individual that owns the property. And then I have a couple permission farms as well. But I can tell you that I'm bordered by public, so
Okay.
I feel the pressure kind of thing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like hunting public where you pull in. There's a couple vehicles there, but I have public around both of my best farms, and but I hunt private. Yes.
Were you a door knocker growing up, asking permission? Was that something that you did? Because it's something
Yeah.
that was
So
very foreign to me as a kid.
yeah. So I live in a very small town.
Okay.
Um, I'm a law enforcement officer here. Um, One of those things, played high school football here. So the town I live in's probably 2,500 people.
Okay.
Our whole county's it's under 15,000. Um, so it's easy to know everybody, kind of
Yeah.
thing, or at least know of everybody. So like, you knock on a farmer's door, they might not know you, but you say, "Hey, my grandfather's so and so." Oh yeah, I
Mhm.
know him, and you're in. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a door knocker, and I love to talk to people, and that's another thing too. I think being able to speak with people, and being cordial and genuine helps a lot. I send out Christmas cards and stuff, and there'll
Awesome.
be days I'll go to the grocery store and maybe pick up a rotisserie chicken and take to the old lady that owns one of the farms I hunt. Just and I
Mhm.
think that goes a long way.
I agree 100%. So the area where we go, it is a lot of old farmers, and I get the vibe that they want to talk. They just want to talk to somebody. I think
Yes.
their kids are adult kids who probably have kids, and maybe even they have great grandkids. So they're in that upper 80s, 90s age group. A lot of their family is dispersed and doing their own things. Maybe they're widowed. And things are not what they used to be, and they don't have that group. I hate to say it, but some of their friends are passing on, and they just want someone to talk to. And I encourage everybody, if you have a landowner that offers you permission to even shed hunt,
Hmm.
just say how you doing. Knock on the
Yeah.
door, spend some time, ask him how he did over the winter. Ask him questions about if there was a storm. There's a gentleman who um lets me shed hunt, but we cannot deer hunt on his property. No problem.
Hmm.
But I talk to him several times a year, and you can hear stories from him about when his kids were little and how they would have like a produce stand that they would sell to the neighbors, and how a tornado blew his barn down in the 70s. You get to hear some really cool stories, and I love that. I just love talking to that generation. They're so
Yeah.
interesting.
They're knowledgeable.
Yep. And
They can
kind.
tell you a lot
Yeah.
too. I always tell people when you get permission to hunt a farm, you should end every conversation with, "If you need anything, call me." But
Always.
there should also be don't depend on them, because that generation too, they don't like to ask for help.
Nope.
So if there's something that you notice, knock on their door and say, "Hey, I noticed you had a tree down in the field. I'm gonna go cut it up for you." And I found that that's been beneficial too, and having good places to hunt.
Yeah, they want to know that you care about that area just as much as they have always loved that area that they live. A lot of those people are multi-generation, either in the same house or in the same,
Mhm.
several hundred acre block. Like they have only known that area. And some of them never get out that much. And it's, if
Right.
you take the time to get to know them and show them that you care about it as much, it goes a long way. Even if it's just deer
Absolutely.
hunting, you may never get the chance to shoot a deer on their property.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Actually, the turkey my little boy shot yesterday, he's 5, shot it on a farm that I killed my first bird on 22 years ago. And I don't have permission to hunt anything on it. I have permission to shed hunt. And there's people that would say, hey, why don't you see if they'll let you deer hunt? And I just know that the way the people are,
yeah.
um, if I go too much in detail, they'll people will know where I'm talking of. But this
Yeah.
person they mean a lot. This person means a lot to me because they were there for me a lot when I was a kid.
Hmm.
And I was out there shed hunting this year, and he said, "Hey, Mike, you know what? Why don't you bring your little boy out this year and shoot a turkey?"
Oh,
I
that's
said,
awesome.
"I said seriously." He's like, "Yeah, we don't let anybody hunt. There's a ton of turkeys. Bring your little boy out." And it's just crazy. I killed my first long beard 22 years ago on that
That's a
same
special
farm, and my
treat right
my
there.
little boy did yesterday. Yeah,
That is
I
a
uh,
real special treat.
I uh, I might have shed a tear or two, man. It was awesome.
That's what it's all about. Getting the
Yeah,
next generation excited about it. And then to top the icing on the cake, the same farm that you shot your first bird on.
exactly,
That's unreal.
exactly. Unbelievable.
I did see your picture, man, and congratulations to your son. That is so awesome.
Greatly
Um,
appreciate that.
I hope you guys got lots of pictures to look back on that over the years. But
Absolutely. They're hanging up. They're on the mantle already.
awesome. That is
So
awesome. Was he pretty excited or what?
he was. He shot it about 10 yards, and that TSS. Now, I mean, I'll be honest. I was scared how close he got. Long story short, man, he popped up. He was right on top of us.
Holy
I was like,
moly.
"You got to shoot." I knew it was going to come out the size of a golf ball. I said,
Yeah.
I hope he's on him," but it ended up working out, and just thankful. And then in that moment, I took the time to explain to him, what he did. I didn't kill turkey when I was 5 years old, and
Hmm.
we weren't sitting in a ground blind with a rest or anything like that. He was sitting between my legs, and
Wow.
it might have been luck, but man, God set it up for us. It worked
That
out
is
great.
so cool, man.
Yes,
That's a once in a lifetime. You can almost only dream of something like that.
absolutely. Yes.
Wow. You almost can't even write it either. So cool. Well, I had actually written down, "Are you into turkey?" Because I knew it was coming up, and
Yes.
you posted already that you were successful. So you answered my question before I even got a chance to answer. Now, you sort of talked about. I'm gonna go way back. I'm gonna go back to something you said a little bit ago. Um, you taught yourself, or for the most part, taught yourself.
Right.
Now, I've talked to a lot of guys on here, because I didn't grow up hunting. I started late in life. Well, 20, took a long break and came back to it in my 30s. But it sounds like you'd been doing it consistently your most of your life.
Yes.
A lot of these guys were like riding their BMX bikes to the video store and renting VHS tapes. Did you do anything like that? Or how did you get, what content were you consuming as a younger man?
I did. I like to ride my bike and stuff, but I found a lot of times that I would be in the woods by myself a lot, and I just had a connection to the outdoors. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
my dad hunted. He took me out gun hunting and turkey hunting. We always had rabbit dogs, but I was into exploring, being out, and I wanted to find stuff and um, like deer sign that stuff that got my heart pumping as a young kid. But I had no idea. Like I I knew what it meant, but I didn't know what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother, he took me out a lot hunting. But the same
Okay.
thing, we weren't bow hunters.
Yeah.
And I think bow hunting deer it's different than gun hunting deer, and it's definitely different than deer drives.
It's so intimate.
Yeah, and like I said, I keep going back to that. First deer I killed, I shot that thing, and he went down right in front of me, and I said to myself, "There's nothing like this." Brett, I'd killed turkeys, 5 steps, 10 steps. Um, I had some of the best rabbit dogs in the whole state of Ohio. Had coonhounds. I had coonhounds for days. Um, but what happened that evening? I it changed my whole life. Just
That's
to
awesome, man.
to put it in the simplest of terms,
Yeah.
that deer changed my whole life. And I wouldn't shoot that deer today if he walked by me.
Hmm.
But man, in 2010, I thought he was a slunger, and he's on my wall. And I tell people because he doesn't stand out per se from the other deer. And so that deer right there means the most to me because my passion for whitetails today is what it is because of that deer.
I was just gonna ask you if you have that mounted.
Yes,
That's amazing.
yes,
I think that says something to people who are, like you said, social media is huge to them. And so you
huge.
have this generation of people who are maybe getting excited about hunting, and they want to get to that level. And it's really good to hear somebody who has graduated to the more mature deer chase.
Right.
When you have that moment, cement it in time,
Yes.
memorialize that moment. If you can afford it, even if you can't afford it, try to ask for help. Memorialize that animal, because it will be incredible to go back in time and look. Like, I can look at all these mounts on my wall and I can remember every single scenario, and there's nothing like reliving the one that changed it for you.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's such an incredible feeling. So I think that's fantastic that you did that. And I would encourage anybody who has that light bulb moment to memorialize that animal forever somewhere within your eyesight that you see frequently, and just relive that and never lose the flame. If you start to burn out, just relive that one hunt. Just look at that mount, relive that hunt, and hopefully rekindle that flame, man, because there's nothing like it.
Nothing at all. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you shoot this 135-inch buck and your life, you just know your life has changed.
Yes.
Is were you smart about it, or did you maybe, like some people do, go off the deep end and set some unrealistic goals?
Uh, I'll be honest with you. It lit a fire inside of me,
Mm-hmm.
and I just started running cameras, running cameras, running cameras, and I didn't want to talk to anybody about anything that didn't entail whitetail deer.
Mm-hmm.
If I was somewhere and there were people there talking about fishing, I didn't care to talk about fishing.
Yeah.
Was all I wanted. So I started running a bunch of cameras, and I just tried to better myself each year,
Sure.
uh, per se, and it, it it really took off. I ended up having additional success after that, and then I went through I called a hiatus. I went through a 3 year hiatus, and I never killed a deer. And
Okay.
there were times where I was going to hang it up because I was like, how much money I had and stuff, and um, I would see other people posting on social media where they were killing deer, and I would think to myself, man, like I'm a better hunter than them, or I know deer more than they do, or I the farms that I'm hunting are twice as good as the farm that he's hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think a lot of that was that mistake stuff that was going on in my life. I was doing stuff that I didn't know at the time were mistakes, and
Okay.
I just learned from them. And I think I've killed a deer with my bow every year since 2016, maybe.
Nice.
And I've just continued to, there were deer that I killed early that I wouldn't even grab my bow for now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm in a position in my life that uh, I try to find the biggest deer that I can on camera,
Mm-hmm.
and I make it my goal to kill that deer. Um, Sometimes that deer is not always a giant in terms of
Yeah.
he might not be 190 inches. Uh, this past year is a prime example. I lost 100 and high 160s deer on the neighbors, and I could not find a deer. And
Hmm.
I ended up finding a deer that we thought was about 7.5 years old. He was not special. He was just I have a thing for big 6 points. He was actually seven,
Yeah.
but big six. And I wasn't going to kill him because he didn't look cool. He wouldn't look cool on Instagram. He would, but he wasn't. Just a stud.
Sure. Of course.
180-inch deer. And I actually sent the picture to a couple of my buddies who I respect a lot in terms of bow hunting. They've killed some slammers, and they're like, "What are you doing? Why aren't you hunting that deer?" I was like, "Really?" They're like, "Yeah." My one buddy said it good. He said, "That's a 125-inch deer with a 200-inch brain." So I'm telling you, you need to hunt it.
Yeah.
And when I saw him for the first time, I was like, "Man, that deer is a stud." Um, but yeah, I try to. Oh, hold on here. Something popped up.
I saw your face light up, so I knew something popped up on your screen.
Yeah, are you still seeing me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll just leave it at that. But I I just try to find the biggest deer I can every year, most mature deer I can, and I make it my goal to kill that deer. And in the back of my mind, I try to learn from every deer. I think every deer teaches you something a little bit different, and
Oh yeah.
that's sort of how I look at it.
So if you had to guess, what do you think the average mature deer is in your area, age wise?
So I consider mature here. I consider mature 5.5 years old.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's a hurdle here to get them past 4.5 because there are a lot of good 4.5-year-old deer
Yeah.
that, um, again, social media people want to kill a deer and they want to set up on the skyline and hold their arm out as far as they can and try to make that deer look as big as they can. And if need be, they'll tell their buddy that this is a 6.5-year-old deer. I've had him on camera for however long. Um, so if you have a 6.5 or 7.5-year-old deer to hunt, you're really doing something. Odds are you have a farm that deer can go to be safe on.
Yeah.
But it's honestly it's really hard to get them there. If you can get on a good 5.5-year-old, um, that's my goal every year to find a deer that's at least 5.5 and pursue that deer.
So I don't know anything about Ohio. I mean, I know where it's at. I'm very close to it. I just started working in Ohio, as a matter of fact. So
Okay.
historically speaking, I would try to do some out of state hunts in any state that I was working in. And it happened to be Michigan, Illinois, and Wisconsin.
Okay.
Great states to hunt in. Michigan is the lowest on the list of good ones, but nonetheless, I would hunt there. And so I don't know. Help me understand. Is what's the pressure like in Ohio
So the
from a
area I'm
from
from,
a hunter's perspective, from a hunter's pressure?
yeah. So the area I'm from, I have a lot of people that hunt property lines. I can't blame them. It's a good place to hunt. But I don't per se deal with it personally
Yeah.
on the particular farms that I'm hunting. So um, we'll say the three primary farms I hunt. I'm the only person that can hunt two of those. Um, but I lose a lot of deer to the neighboring farms.
Mhm.
Um, the one neighboring farm, they plant a lot of crops, and deer go over there to eat and they die per se.
Yeah.
It's private, but it may as well be public because the farmer lets everybody hunt.
Mm.
So I don't deal with pressure on the farms that I hunt really, but I end up losing a lot of deer to the neighbors. I say deer drives do a number on my deer, just to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, but there are a ton of people here that hunt, but the actual pressure on the farms I hunt aren't high.
Okay.
Um, but even the public here doesn't get pressured a whole lot.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
pretty vast, isn't it?
yeah, there's guys that will come in and hunt. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but it's not something where you drive by and there's 4, 5, 6 vehicles there or anything like
Okay.
that.
Yeah. That's what it's like here. That's what
I've
it's
heard of
like here.
places like that. I got a buddy from Pennsylvania, and
Yeah.
he was in turkey hunting with his son here for the youth hunt, and he was telling me that they pulled in for there was a they released trout in like a local stream,
Mm,
and they pulled in there, and there were 44 vehicles sitting in the driveway in the parking lot.
baby.
I was like, "Holy cow,
Yeah.
over trout!"
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard the same thing about Indiana too. And I've heard that in Indiana, you can't just pull off the side of the road either. Like you have to park your vehicle in a designated parking area. So it gets, you drive by those parking lots and you're like, this blows, dude. There's 20, this thing's packed already.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, you also posted something recently which really triggered sort of this interaction, which then led to this conversation tonight.
Right.
And it is a statement that I agree with wholeheartedly. It's a
Yes.
statement that could be misconstrued as maybe confrontational.
Right.
It's a statement that I think could ruffle some feathers, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. You posted a quote that says, "You are who you hunt with."
Yes.
Could not possibly agree more. But tell me how you got there.
As I said, when I started bow hunting in 2010, it was just me, you know, and through those years, 14 years later, I've had um, multiple friends that became, say, hunting buddies for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and I've seen it a lot too. And people from this area that they kill studs, kill giants, and it's like 90% of the time, there's guys that are out killing these big deer, and they have a hunting buddy or a friend that they spend a lot of their time with, deer wise. If you look at those people and look at their friend, they're killing the same caliber of deer. Um, it just it's a fact. I see it every year, and I also see it in the fact that nothing against people that shoot smaller deer, but say you have Johnny and Bill that have hunted together their whole life. Um, Johnny shoots a 130-inch 3-year old. Uh, that's usually what Bill's going to shoot. So I shared that as you are who you hunt with. That people that share the same goals, typically kill the same kind of deer. These people that are running together with the same goals, they're getting it done year in and year out. And these are the guys that are passing on deer that might be a trophy to somebody else, but this today's good deer, tomorrow's great deer, tomorrow's great deer, the next day's giant. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I shared that, and yeah, actually, I watched my follower count go down too after I shared it. But you know, um, it's the truth. You are who you hunt with, and
Yeah.
um, I've seen a lot of people that they're into bow hunting for a couple years, and then they become a turkey hunter. I always said,
Mm.
I know a lot of bad bow hunters that'll tell you they're a good turkey hunter, but nothing against anybody else. But if
Yeah.
you look at the guys that get it done year in and year out on studs, big deer. Um, I'm not saying that they don't dabble around in turkey hunting or they don't dabble around in fishing or predator hunting, but there's guys that are getting it done year in and year out. People think it's like magical and stuff. It's simple. They're ate up with it. You know, these aren't guys that are. I'm not talking, the Mark Juries of the world who they can do what they want. I'm talking blue
Yeah.
collar guys who go out and put the time in, and they're absolutely ate up with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the small area I'm from, it's pretty simple. You're It's the same guys year in and year out, and their buddies are doing the same thing that they're doing. So you are who you hunt with, and to put it in a perspective of for somebody out there to listen to and get a better grasp of it. I think if you take a bad person and put them with a God fearing individual every day for a year, um, that person will then be God fearing themselves. You take a good person and you have them, run with somebody that's committing crimes and whatnot for a year. Eventually, that person's going to do the same, and it's no different than deer. You take somebody and stick them with somebody that kills big deer and they know big deer. Eventually, you're going to see the same for that person.
I believe there are lots of quotes on the internet that say something along the lines of, if you hang out with five smokers, you'll be the sixth.
You're
You know what I'm saying?
exactly right.
It's the same philosophy. And now most people will hear that statement and be offended or feel attacked,
Right.
and all sensitive about it. And then, like you said, they'll unfollow you because you feel like you are attacking them as a person. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the sentiment is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in this, then the sentiment is Why don't you want to better yourself?
Right.
Wouldn't you want to set goals to make yourself a better steward of the land, the deer herd, push yourself beyond limits that you have, push yourself beyond your already set threshold of limits, like, oh, I only hunt 60 acres of ag. Well, go do some timber hunting and learn something new, or hunt a swamp. Like, why
Right.
why wouldn't you?
Right.
And so these people are upset because they know it's true,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
exactly.
And so if you just take a second, and I've had this conversation I hear before, do a little self reflection and say, okay, what could this mean? And then if it pertains to you, and maybe you have been a little short sighted in your hunting career, because this is specifically about hunting, maybe try setting a goal and pushing your limits and see if you are capable of doing it. Maybe you're not, but I'd be willing to bet if you step outside of your circle of influence for a little bit and learn something new, you will find that you can do harder things than you thought you could do initially.
Absolutely.
And I just wish people wouldn't be so quick to react with hurt feelings to those sort of statements.
Exactly.
Somebody has to say it. And I'm not one to pull punches. I'm not one to be shy about confrontation. I'm not one to be worried about what other people think. I think there are too many people today, and I think you'll probably agree with me, who just coddle. The internet is full of people who will coddle you, and tell you that everything's okay. And
Yes.
and then you will
Exactly.
you will spiral in down a rabbit hole of trying to surround yourself with these coddlers to make you feel better, when you really need some people in your life. It should be your friends or your family to say, hey man, shut up, quit whining, pull up your boots, like pull up your bootstraps and get back out there and do it. But these people, I mean, it's the internet again. We've talked about it. Social media, it's the internet. If you want to be told that you are special and you are okay, you just get on Facebook and Instagram, and you will find somebody to tell you you are fine just the way you are.
There's a lot of people out there looking for likes. That's all.
Yep. So how do we go, in your opinion? I also listened to a podcast recently where they sort of jokingly said, we need to bring back bullying. And it was more of like a joke, like, if you got a bunch of guys at camp and the one dude always shoots a 120, like, say, hey man, haven't you shot enough 120s?
Yes, absolutely.
And so I laugh at that, but there's a little truth in that jest.
There
Like,
is. Yes.
at some point, maybe you need to have that conversation with your group of friends and say, hey, listen, guys, wouldn't it be cool if we had some 150s out here?
Right.
How do you think we get there, um, as a society, as big picture? Because it's a societal problem.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset, honestly. Like, I mentioned um, the deer guys out there that get it done year in and year out, killing big deer. And I think it's sort of a mindset. And I think there are people out there that they're content with shooting a 3.5-year-old deer.
Mm-hmm.
That's 120 inches. And, it makes it harder on people that, want to let deer grow and want to let deer get big.
Mm-hmm.
I had a 3.5-year-old on camera last season that I'd say if he made it to six, he would have been a deer that had the potential to be 200 inches, and he got killed as a 3.5-year-old deer by somebody that's killed multiple deer, much bigger than that. We'll just say,
Really?
yeah. So I mean, I think it's just a mindset. Everybody wants to have a picture holding a deer,
Mm-hmm.
to post on their Facebook or their Instagram and say, "Hey, look at me! I killed a deer." Um, I think you should be judged more on what you choose not to kill than what you do kill.
I like that.
And if you live by that philosophy, I think you'll have deer to chase year in and year out. But I just think our social media generation that we're in, you got to find people that share the same views as you because it's not easy to change people. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
there's people that they're content with going out there and shooting 3.5-year-old 120-inch deer. hey, my season's over. I use my buck tag kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Do you
So
agree? Do you agree with the graduation process of someone who has only recently begun hunting? Um, you got to kill to kill, and so you got to get comfortable with shooting does, and you know just the graduation process up through one, two, three, maybe not one, but like two, three, four, five, six. You think that's a natural progression, or what is your opinion on the natural progression of killing bigger bucks?
yeah, so I have deer on my wall now that I killed, you know, 10 years ago. Um, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. The first one I killed, that I wouldn't grab my bow for. I wouldn't even think
Mm-hmm.
about killing them. So, um, as you mentioned, the graduation process, I think everybody's different with it. I think there are people that are just they're content with shooting what they shoot every year, but
Mm-hmm.
um, that's what I had to do. I just tried to raise the bar a little bit more every year.
Mm-hmm.
But starting out, I told myself like, hey, listen, you weren't per se taught how to do this, so um, learn and just try to do better every year. I did have a couple good friends that were they're bow guys. They know big deer, and I was humble enough to ask them questions when I took their advice, and I still call them to this day
Mm-hmm.
if I'm having problems with a deer that I just can't figure out. And but yeah, I always just tried to raise the bar for myself year after year, and it honestly, Brett, it probably wasn't until 2017 I killed an old deer that um, was sort of famous in the area. There was a lot of people hunting him, and when I killed that deer, that was when I really upped the bar for myself.
Okay.
It was one of those things. I killed him. Some people had heard I killed him. Or, a couple people came out to my house like, "Hey, man, we want to see that deer." We had it on camera, and with the trail camera pictures and whatnot, it was believed that he was at least 8 years old. So he was
Wow.
just an old deer.
Yeah.
I killed him. I killed him off of a scrape. Um, might have been luck, but I killed him. But when I killed that deer, that was when I really said to myself, like, "Hey, you can do this and
Mm-hmm.
be good at it." And so about 2017 was when I really, I guess we can say, graduated.
Yeah.
And
I
and
think it's I think it's important that people hear this because we went on a small tirade about how you are who you hunt with. You need to set high expectations of yourself as a human and as a hunter. You need to have lofty goals. You need to not settle, but also go through the process. But ideally, you want to get there. You want to continuously pursue better for yourself. In turn, creating a better environment for nature. Um, although he had although Mike has a firm stance on hunting, period, he went through the process too. And so people like my little brother, who has only been hunting for a couple years, um, shoots probably like a 115 his first season ever. And I'm like, man, that's a pretty great deer to shoot for your first deer ever. Like
absolutely,
there's not a
absolutely.
lot of guys that will shoot like hell. That was one of the bigger deer I've ever seen. So
Hmm.
he then it actually kind of skewed him in the wrong way. And so it probably would have been better for him to go through a little bit different process. It's important that you kill deer so that you can continuously feel confident killing deer. So don't I hope people didn't hear that and tune out. Like I hope they listen to this whole thing and hear that it's important to go through the graduation process. And I love that you said that you did that. Um, now, what do your goals look like today as a hunter, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, I've never had permission get or I've never had a hard time getting permission to hunt farms. So I have some really good farms to hunt, and really I don't struggle to find a good deer to hunt. This past year was a little bit different. Um, I really only had one big deer, and he ended up getting killed on the neighbors. But um, you know, my goal now is, I try to get deer to where they're at least 5.5 years old, where they're mature. And um, there's an old saying, if you don't kill that deer, it'll get killed on the neighbor. I try not to be the neighbor. and I just I'm I'm thankful for the opportunities I have to chase bigger deer because I understand that people don't have that opportunity. Not everybody does, but
Yeah.
yeah, I each year I find that one deer that uh, where I just say that's him. That's the
Yeah.
deer I want to hunt.
It's a
And
cool feeling. That's
yeah,
Do you feel like there's a certain time of year where you get that? Is it like July, August? Is it September? Like when they're in full like their full growth,
yeah.
velvet
So
full on.
a lot of the deer that I hunt are deer that I have history with. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so I wait for them to show up, kind of thing. Like
Okay.
rarely do I hunt the deer that just shows up, and I'm like, man, that deer's a stud. I'm gonna hunt him. So generally, I'm able to wait for certain deer to show up, and then go from there to hunt them. There's a deer I killed 2 years ago that I called Stranger, and I had him on camera for 3 years, and so I just sort of waited for him to show up. Whenever he showed up, I was like, holy cow, kind of thing. But yeah, if it's a deer that gets my heart going, I know I can be proud of, and
Yeah.
yeah, those are the ones I choose to go after.
Do you do any out of state hunting?
I do not. And I tell people, the guys that do it and they do it successfully, like they're awesome. Like kudos to the guys that do that. I
Yeah.
always tell people, man, it's hard enough for me to kill one 5 minutes from my house, let alone driving 5 or 6 hours. So no, I don't do out of state hunting, but um, the guys that do and get it done, kudos to them guys.
And you have no desire to?
I wouldn't say no desire
Okay.
to. Um, I guess I look at it from the money perspective too, where everything's
Yeah.
just so expensive.
Yes, indeed.
And, I got to pick between rolling the dice and going to Kansas for a week
Hmm.
and might not kill anything versus, taking that money I'd spend and, putting it into my own lease or my own farms and, trying to better it. So I just look at it that way. I would love to at some point in time in my life um, go hunt Iowa or Kansas, but
Yeah.
as of now, I don't do it. No.
Well, that's interesting. Most of the time I talk to guys and they're like, I love it. Or if they haven't done it yet, they are chomping at the bit to do so. So I think that's really cool that you are super happy in Southeast Ohio, or if that's where you hunt, like you're just
Yes.
really pumped up to be there. You're thankful for what you've got. It's meeting your goals. I would imagine though, a guy who has goals like yours, should that ever change, I bet you'd be willing to put yourself in a position to find those deer wherever you need to find those deer. I can't imagine
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
you're not just gonna be like, you know what, I'm done hunting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't seem like that to you.
People joke with me all the time that know me. It seems like every year I kill in like December or November or December. I'll go into late season sometimes. People always say like, you wouldn't know what to do if you killed one early, which I don't think I would know what to do. Like if I killed one early and I had to go through a whole fall without being in a tree, I think I'd end up getting a tag somewhere.
Because Ohio's a $1 state, correct?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Wow. And how many doe can you take in your area?
So like every county's different, but our county it's typically I think it might have changed here recently, but one doe, one buck,
Okay.
or two does.
Okay.
There are some counties around that are three deer counties, which would be one buck, two does, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. Like, I'm not a big go out and shoot does person because I'm the only person in my house that eats deer meat. So if I kill a good deer, most generally it'll last me for a while.
I was gonna say that's a
Um,
lot of pressure to eat it all by yourself.
yeah, my little boy he went out last year and he got to experience some success. So a little different now, but
Yeah.
yeah, most generally, I just try to find the biggest deer that I can. And I pursue that animal and try to get it done on that deer. Make it a goal of mine.
Are you a mobile hunter, or are you like a permanent set guy?
Yeah, I'm more of a permanent set guy. Like
Okay.
um, those mobile hunter guys are a lot of them guys are studs. Man, they can get up and down and go find them. I have a couple buddies that are real big mobile hunters. I actually thought about going to the road show
Yeah.
last year. I honestly was going to go just for the camaraderie and uh, see some stuff, and
Hell
obviously
yeah.
there's a lot of good hunters that go to that, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. We've been my brother and I have gone a couple years in a row now, and at this point, like I don't need to buy. I'm probably not allowed to buy anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
I don't need to buy anything, but I just go to see the guys that I only see there that I talk to online all the time. You know,
right,
hang out with the guys all day, and I don't even shoot. Like they have like these contests and stuff. I don't shoot. I don't run in the stuff. Like I just go hang out with everybody and trade stories and you know I consider myself always learning, and so even though I may know how to read maps, I didn't when I first go out. When I first started going out, I didn't understand topography and thermals, and I'm still learning those. And so they have those little classes, and I just love going, man, and just hanging out with the guys all day. And it's a really cool event. Are you closest to like the Harrisburg or the PA one?
yeah, Harrisburg. I was thinking the Great American Outdoor Show. I looked
Yeah.
that one up, and I think there two there last year or
I
around like
don't
so there was
know.
one that was only like 2 hours from me.
Yeah, I think you're close, probably closest to the PA road show,
Hmm.
but I said Harrisburg on accident. I don't
I
know
think
any
even the
Harris.
Ohio one was like Southern Ohio to where I would have been closer to go to PA.
Okay.
The Ohio one last year. I seen that they didn't have Ohio on there this year.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
well, if you come up to Michigan, make sure you say hi. We'll be there. Um I was just curious if you were a mobile guy or a permanent set guy. It sounds like you got some great farms where you don't even need to be mobile. Um
right.
do your farms change a lot from year to year to year? Like we have ours changes based on storms. Honestly, it's we get these storms that just blow the trees down in certain areas, and it changes those deer's pattern in the woods. Like, do you find that yours changes periodically?
Say no, but I had a tornado come through my lease this year, and I
Really?
mean, oh yeah, I lost a tree stand out of it.
Oh, damn.
Um, so I say no, but I'll find out now. I guess are you saying in terms of like how deer utilize them and deer movement
Yes.
and stuff?
Uh huh.
Yeah, I don't particularly notice anything, but it seems like the same year or every year it's the same stuff in terms of you know what the neighbor plants on their farms and how they utilize that
Hmm.
and whatnot. So I don't see it a whole lot here,
Okay.
personally.
And are you in a like a corn bean rotation down there?
Yeah, so the area I live in is rolling hills, so we don't see a whole lot of beans.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, so but we do see a lot of corn, alfalfa, clover kind of thing. Um, the neighbor to my good farm, he left his corn up for a good while this year, which was unlike him. And then I had an absolute stud of a 4.5 year old that I was trying to keep alive. And he cut that corn the week of muzzleloader season. You can put two and two together what happened.
Yeah.
But that deer ended up getting killed. But, uh, but yeah, we're more of a corn,
Okay.
clover, alfalfa kind of thing.
So you mentioned that you kind of end up taking yourself into the late season. Sounds like maybe subconsciously you're doing it by choice,
Right.
because you wouldn't know what to do with yourself if you shot one opening day. Um,
Right.
do you have an absolute favorite time of year to be in the tree?
I was born in November, so I always say there's a reason I was born in November, and I don't think there's anything like it when you have good November weather,
Hmm.
um, where you set your back against the tree and you're bundled up, and when you hear that
Oh yeah.
crunch, I don't. There's nothing that beats that.
Yeah. So anytime in November, not necessarily
Yeah,
even
anytime in
early.
November,
Okay.
I I I feel that my birthday is on the 5th. I always feel like I always tell people they call them, hey, when should I take vacation? You know, um, I always find anywhere in between, say the 5th through the 15th is just awesome here. It seems to be.
So do you leave your cameras out year round?
Yes and no. I now that I have cell cams, I pull them obviously because they're expensive and try to keep them in good shape. I do run a lot of SD card cameras just on mineral sites and stuff like that year round. I like to watch deer grow.
Yeah. Are you a shed hunter?
Oh, I love it. I love
Yeah, I know. Isn't that weird?
it. I love it.
And I think there's a part of it. It's like I just want to be outside too. Like I just want to walk
Hmm.
around. I want to smell the fresh spring air. Like I want to just be in the woods, even though I can't hunt. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love shed hunting, man.
and I learned so much from shed hunting too.
Yeah, like
Um,
explain.
um, in terms of finding where deer are bedding, where particular
Hmm.
bucks are bedding, there's a lot of areas where um, I don't go in 364 days out of the year, but I take one day every year and I go shed hunt it.
Okay.
So going in there and seeing the new sign and reading the sign. We talk about access. Uh, I might be the only guy that does it, but if I find a big buck bed, I'll perch down in it and see, why was this deer bedding here, and try to piece it together in my head. Hunting these hills is it's actually you can learn so much from a buck bed because it's just crazy to see once you get down. You're like, that's why they're bedding here.
Yeah.
They can they can see what they can't see. They can smell what they can't smell. They can see.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's just the amount that you can learn from areas that I stay out of, and then when you go in there and shed hunt them and piece stuff together and whatnot. It's just it's learning uh, the trails and how they're utilizing the farms and whatnot.
Are you a guy that looks at tracks?
Uh, not no, not per se. No.
That's something that I just have started to hear a lot of guys talk about, and I don't know if maybe it's just like the hot topic recently that everyone wants to sort of cling on to,
Right.
but sort of identifying or maybe assigning a particular unique buck track to a particular buck.
Right.
I have a hard, I mean, like I can look at a track and be like, this is a buck track, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can tell enough that it's like a unique
Say it's a
characteristic.
giant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
But I
always just use the big deer make big rubs.
yeah,
So that's
big deer take
that's
big poops too. Like there's some
yeah.
does that dump huge dumps in my yard.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've never done anything with tracks or looked too much into that. No.
Yeah. So you're like a pretty traditional guy as far as hunting is concerned. I mean, like you're modern in the sense that you use cell cameras, but like all the stuff that most people talk about on podcasts today, myself included, mobile hunting, all that stuff. You're like a purist. And
Okay.
does that is that sort of what drives you, like the passion to keep the sport pure?
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of what I see on social media just makes me like shake my head, uh, kind of thing. So even when I take my little boy out and stuff, I want to keep things simple.
Mm-hmm.
Deer are smart. We're not going to act like they're mature. Deer are smart. We're not going to act like they're not. But um, knowing the little things turns into the big things. So I always said, be confident enough to teach, but be humble enough to learn. And with that, I look at guys like a couple of friends that I have, and they're the same way. They just have a passion for it, and you don't have to do things the new way to get things done per se.
That's
You
true.
can you can do things the pure traditional way, and there's people been killing big deer for years.
Oh yeah.
Um, we're not going to act like these new fads that are coming out are the reasons. Burying a kiddie pool and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I appreciate that compliment actually.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like it.
I like it.
It's inspiring to me because for a long time when I was really getting excited about wanting to do more in the hunting in the hunting, in my hunting life, I was obsessed with the gear.
Right.
I found that I once I got comfortable in my setup, and I think I was really just kind of finding myself. Once I got really comfortable in my setup, it was so relieving to ignore the noise and
Mm-hmm.
just hunt or scout.
Right.
So awesome
Yeah.
to finally get to that point. And I do think it's important for people to get comfortable so that they can stay in the woods longer. Like, make sure that you're good. Like,
Right.
troubleshoot your shit all summer long, get comfortable, dialed in, and then learn the deer, the woods.
Yeah, a lot of you mobile hunter guys, man. You guys are particular on your stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I realized less is more too.
Oh man, absolutely,
Is
especially in the
more.
mobile hunting game. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, I sincerely appreciate you coming on tonight. And like I said, I'm really excited to get to know you more tonight. I was really excited to kind of hear from you that perspective on you are who you hunt with. I love it. I love that it's sort of multi-purpose. Like, yes, this is a fact, but yes, you can look at it a couple different ways. You don't have to be so butthurt about it.
Right.
Man, thanks so much for coming on tonight.
I appreciate you having me on. I look forward to maybe doing another episode with you sometime.
Yeah, hell yeah. I would like to do another episode closer to the season. I'd like to hear, from you on maybe how if anything changes for you or especially what this maybe tornado did to your lease. Um,
Mhm.
hopefully by that time I'll have figured out where I'm going to hunt in Ohio this year because I'm still trying to figure that out. And then we can, maybe hear some exciting news on if you've got a target maybe picked out yet.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I got a good one I'll tell you about, and
Oh, nice.
we hop off here.
Cool.
We'll
Good.
exchange some information. I'll put you on something here.
Hell yeah. Well, let everybody know where they can follow along with you again. I believe I am now subscribed to your YouTube channel, and how they can follow along with your adventures.
Yeah, my Instagram handle is Russell_bow only, and we also have a web series called Appalachian Chase, and it's where you can find everything. I don't do Facebook or anything like that, so
Good for you.
yeah, feel free to give me a follow.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks again, Mike. I really appreciate it. And thanks everybody for listening. And we will talk to you shortly. Cool. Thanks, man.
I appreciate you having me on. You need
Yeah. Hell
anything,
yeah.
yell at me, and then this season rolls around. Uh,
Cool.
I don't know if you like. I know where there's some. I'm not a public land guy, but I know where there's some public land good deer. Um,
Nice.
so if you want to come
So
down this way or something, I'll
yeah,
point you in the right direction.
my territory is Michigan, Toledo, and Cleveland, which is not
Yeah, that's
sexy
not.
area.
Yeah, that's not my area. Um, if you decide you want to take a weekend road trip, I got a couple bedrooms, couple beds, and
Nice.
I'll point you in the right direction.
I appreciate it. I may take
All
you
right.
up on that because I definitely will be heading south at some point to do some real scouting. I just am trying to get my feet under me in Ohio because I just took it over and what's going on and who's building what. So just trying to find my feet there, and then I'll branch out um, but yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I love hunting out of state when I'm traveling for work. Just parlaying some out of state hunting, man, is awesome. So we'll see what we can
Yep.
come up with.
Let's plan on getting something set up then.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. All
All
right.
right,
Well,
bro. You
thanks
take
again,
care,
Mike.
buddy.
Have a good
All right.
night.
Yep. See you.
See ya.
Bye.